This week's US CQM Forecast Alert is PCA forecast sensitive to CPI and PPI price indexes. This week, we updated key economic indicators for November, but their actual figures were close to their ARIMA forecast last week, so they didn't have a significant impact on economic growth forecasts. However, while CQM revised the economic growth rate upwards on both the expenditure and income side, PCA revised the economic growth rate downwards. As a result, economic growth rate has been revised upward by 0.16% and 0.09% on both the expenditure and income side, respectively. The economic growth rate on the expenditure side is 5.40%. The low economic growth rate on the income side is due to the fact the statistical discrepancy in 2021 Q4 is estimated to be largely negative. While CQM has revised its economic growth rate upwards on both the expenditure and income sides, PCA has revised its economic growth rate slightly downward from 5.89% to 5.77%. This is due to the fact that the PCA uses real economic indicators to construct principal components. The GDP price deflator is projected to be 6.11%. The Industrial Production Index, one of the monthly economic indicators that construct the principal component, grew 0.52% in November, slightly above the ARIMA forecast of 0.48% last week. Real retail sales constructing principal component fell 0.5% in November, below the ARIMA forecast of minus 0.3%. Real construction spending in November decreased by 0.47% due to an increase in PPI of construction material, below the ARIMA forecast of minus 0.31% last week. Real shipments of manufactured goods, which construct principal component, fell by 0.41% in November, below the previous week's ARIMA forecast of minus 0.26%. Regarding inflation in 2021 Q4, it is better to think about 6% from the CQM and PCA forecasts. Conclusion from this week's US CQM Forecast Alert. At present, the economic growth rate for 2021 Q4 is 5% to 6%, and the inflation rate is about 6%. Economic growth has been revised upward in the CQM forecast, but downwards in the PCA forecast. This is because PCA forecasts are more sensitive to price indexes than CQM, since PCA uses real economic indicators to construct principal components. This slide contains additional information about this week's detailed CQM forecast, the original developer of CQM, and CQM theory papers.